Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. I'm going to be totally honest with you today, all right? I am having a fucking hard time recording video. I normally don't do retakes on videos. Like, I just record the video. And I'm just, for whatever reason, I'm just feeling like I'm just not feeling it, like for the last week or so. So I'm trying, hopefully these are good, but you never know. Like, but one thing I've learned, I'll tell you this before I get into the actual topic here, which, by the way, this is going to be one of those men topics. But before I get into the actual topic, is sometimes you just gotta keep on going and let it, you get a block and you got to keep on going in order to get that block to go through. And so sometimes you're going to produce the stuff that you don't think is your best stuff, and sometimes it'll actually be good. But either way, you got to keep on writing, you got to keep on pumping, you got to do whatever you got to do to keep on going, and eventually you'll find your groove again. But you never find your groove again by just waiting for it to happen, because it doesn't happen. It happens through action. It happens automatically, and pretty soon you'll be in your zone again. So that's what I've learned. And those of you that have been watching my channel for a while, you know it. You're like, oh, John's out of the zone. Man, like for a week now, he's been making these videos that are like, it's like, okay. And it almost seems like he's stuttering. It almost seems like he has a speech impediment or something like that. What is going on? And some of it, I will tell you guys too, by the way. I'm just going to go kind of off topic here. But some of it is when I'm talking. So this is an interesting thing. I'll tell you this. So if you learn how to talk, if you do public speaking or you do something, YouTube videos, you'll find that the very first problem that you'll have to overcome is using words like Okay, and then what you'll learn is you'll learn how to pause. But sometimes what will happen when you try to stop saying and you try to pause is that instead of that, you'll repeat a phrase or you'll repeat a word. So it'll be almost like a stutter where you'll say the same word over and over. You'll restart your sentence, because that's another way to stall for time. So the correct thing to do, what you really got to do, is you got to focus on say what you're going to say, pause, think about the next thing that you're going to say. Don't use transition words. Don't say so. Don't say anyway. Don't repeat the sentence over again. Just give time between your thoughts, and if you don't know what to say, you just pause and you give it time. Your editor can edit out blank spaces if you're producing a high quality video. If you're on a stage, you bring more presence when you speak that way and you don't use transition words, you don't say your audience will appreciate that you're pausing instead of using fillers. So there you go. But it takes some focus to do that, right? When you're actually naturally speaking, eventually you'll start to develop that ability, but it is hard. So just to give you guys some background there, it's really interesting. And if you watch some of my older videos, it's evolving, right? It takes time. I've stopped editing my own stuff, so I've sort of stopped growing and progressing in the way when you edit your own stuff, you end up automatically becoming better at this. But it takes some focus, it takes some thought. And you'll see sometimes if I'm rattled or something, I'll slip and I'll go into that phase where I'll be talking less succinctly and I'll start using those transition words and whatnot. Well, how's that for a transition? Let's talk about paying for girls. Those of you that have stuck with me for this long, hear my ramble and rants, you're going to get rewarded by having one of those topics that some of you hate and some of you love. If you don't like this topic, right? By the way, I do, if you're new to this channel, I'll tell you, I do some videos for guys about girls. Why? Because there's a lot of my audience that needs that help, and I am going to help that portion of my audience. If it's not you, if you don't care, if you don't want this kind of advice, if you whatever, that's totally cool. You could skip these videos. You can watch them if you like. You can share them to people that you think would benefit from them. I'm not going to be offended, but I'm also not going to stop making content that I feel is valuable for my audience. So I'm just letting you know that up front. If you're interested in all the videos I've done on this topic, you can check out my playlist on becoming more of a masculine man and attracting women. Now, with that said, let's get into this here. So paying for girls, I don't have a name here, but I got a question. He says, hi, John. What about paying for girls on first dates and later? Does it depend on culture? Some friends of mine say it's more European model, everybody pays for themselves. No info about USA. Want to hear your opinion. So here's my honest opinion on this. It's not about paying or not paying. It's about how you do things, right? So I'm trying to think of a good way to put this here. It's not about if you pay. You could do either one of those things, and I think either one of them would be fine. It depends on what your principles are and what rules you set and how you want to live your life. Okay, but either way, you could do them for a benefit, good, that would make you appear to be a more masculine, dominant male that women would be attracted to. Not an overbearing asshole. Don't confuse the two. You can watch a video on being a nice guy if you're having trouble confusing the two. And you can do this either way, right? So you could use this to come off good, or you could use it to come off bad, right? Either one. So I'll give you some examples, and maybe this will make a little bit of sense here. So let's start with paying for a date, okay? With paying for your date. You could be this kind of really wussy guy who lacks confidence, who is very much hard on the sleeve type of guy who's not very dominant, not very masculine, kind of beta. I hate to use that term, but beta male. You know what I'm talking about. And you pay for this girl that you just met, and you want to pay for a dinner. You want to buy her a lobster dinner, and what you're doing in that case is you're setting up what's called a covert contract. What you're doing is you're trying to buy this person. You're trying to buy affection. You're trying to love someone that you don't actually know yet in order to get something from them. And it might just be affection, but it might be sex, right? And and that's it's sort of a cheap way. It's a counterfeit way of getting what you want, whether it be, some of you out there are very much, I just want to cuddle there. I just want to be loved. And you've got this problem. I've done some videos on it. You can check it out in the playlist. I don't remember the exact ones, but I've talked about this real problem that a lot of guys have, which separating their sexual identity from themselves and being very much this cuddly bunny type of guy that is a real good friend material for women, but not a very good sexual partner, not a very good, not the kind of guy that they would be attracted to, because he's sort of neutered himself. He doesn't display any of the masculine identity, right? Women there's polarization, right? There's men and there's women. I mean, there's other in between, but in general, there's a feminine and masculine essence, and they're polarized, just like magnetic poles, north and south. And so what men are attracted to, women are attracted to the opposite, right? Men more, in general, are attracted to the curves, the feminine. If you think about feminine, kind woman, soft heart type of thing that goes with the flow, whereas women are attracted to what you would think like a dominant masculine male, strong, sure of himself, confident, right? These type of attributes. And so a lot of guys, they try to separate that. They try to be this nice guy, and they don't want to appear to be aggressive or intimidating, or they don't want to, they're afraid of their own sexuality, and they're afraid that other people will be, and so they kind of stuff that down, and then they suddenly spring it on this girl. They're like, well, I don't understand. Why aren't you physically attracted to me? I did all these things for you. I sent you love letters and roses, and I paid for your dinner. And and now let's get down to business, right? And there was never that there was never that, because you've sort of ruined it from the beginning. You've made yourself into, quote, the friend zone. So why I'm saying this, you could do that. You could pay for a date with that kind of rationale, that mentality of the same, that you're paying for the date is the same way as you would send a girl flowers and this sappy love letter that you don't really even know, right? And you're sort of wearing your heart on your sleeve, and maybe you're trying to get something from her because you feel like if you do something, you're going to obligate her, that she owes you something back, right? And it doesn't work that way. Love doesn't work that way. Sex doesn't work that way. Obligation is not the way, right? That's the way to kill attraction. Obligation kills attraction. Okay, so in that way, you could mess things up. Now, on the other hand, you could tell her to pay for herself, and you could be one of these wussy guys that says, well, I'm a feminist guy, and I believe that everyone is equal, And therefore, since everyone is equal, you should pay for. I do not want to impose myself and pretend like I am this man, hero, white knight, armored guy rescuing the maiden. We are equal and we're the same, and so you pay for yours and I pay for mine. I am such a modern male. I don't believe in masculinity or any of this stuff. We're just all the same. Gender is just a word. And you could be that kind of a wuss. And you know what? At an intellectual level, a lot of women are going to like that. They're going to be like, oh, this guy's awesome. I love him as a friend. I love this guy as a friend. And guess who they're going to be dating? They're going to be dating the tough guy with the tattoos that's a total asshole. Not saying you have to be a total asshole, but what I'm saying is that you could either way. You could be a wuss. You could be a fucking wuss, and you pay for dinner because you're trying to get something. You're trying to win approval and affection, or you could not pay for dinner because you're trying to win approval and affection because you're trying to do what you think is going to please this woman or this girl that you're with, as opposed to doing what pleases you. And not necessarily what pleases you. It's not like you're totally selfish, but it means that you do what you feel is right and what you think is right in the given situation. Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying? Because that is the masculine attribute. That's the confidence that's going to be attractive, as opposed to being weak in either way. It's a weakness if you try to gender neutralize things and make everything fair and the same, and you're afraid to step into the role of being the man. Women want the man. They want to be dating the man, not the boy, not the politically correct, gender neutral type of guy. Sure, maybe they'll date him, but they're not going to be deeply attracted to him. They're not going to be sexually attracted to that guy in general, right? So there might be some exceptions, but in general, it's not easy. It's not easy advice, but it's the truth. You can ask women. I don't know if you ask them, but you can observe. The best thing you should do when you have questions about this stuff, you're like, John, is he full of shit? All right, fucking observe. Go to the fucking mall and watch things happen. Go to a club and watch things take place. Watch the kind of women that you would like to be with and see what they are attracted to, and what they're attracted to, and what they do, and how they act, and how the guys that they're attracted to act. See it for yourself. If you don't believe me, you might think that that's not fair, and life isn't fair, and it sucks, and life isn't fair. But this is the game. I didn't set the rules. You didn't set the rules. You don't get to change the rules. You get to play by the rules, or you get to lose the game, and that's how the game works. So you got to decide at some point in life: are you going to continue to be a loser? Are you going to continue to hold on to ideals that don't really exist, that you've been fed in order to subjugate you, in order to keep you down, in order to make you docile? Are you going to fucking revolt? Are you going to say, fuck this? What are the rules? Whatever it is, I'm going to play by those rules. And again, I'm not encouraging you to be an asshole. I'm not saying that at all, right? You don't have to be an asshole, but you do have to be assertive, and you have to learn what that is. And you do have to do what you want to do and not seek external validation. I did this video on seeking external validation. Check that out. You need to stop seeking external validation and choosing to do things that be a pleaser. Stop being a damn pleaser, okay? And do what motivates you, what you want to do. Don't worry about other fucking people and what they think about you. You do what you want to do. And you got to be, and you can't depolarize things. You can't be, afraid of your own sexuality. You got to be like, yeah, I'm a guy. Yeah, I was checking you out. Yeah. What's your fucking problem? Like, you see what I'm saying? Not that, don't go around telling people what your fucking problem. But you got to have that attitude. You could be like, I don't apologize for me. Okay? If you got a problem with me, you got a problem with me. I'm a cool guy. You want to hang out with me? We're going to party. We're going to have a good time. I'm going to treat people nice and respectful. And maybe not nice, but respectful and kind. I'm not an asshole. But I really couldn't give a shit. If you got a problem with me, that's your problem. That's not my problem, right? Okay? That's it. That's the attitude you got to have. You got to learn how to do that. And that requires you to respect yourself. So, to flip it one more time and say, now what could you do in either situation on the other side? Well, suppose that you're on a date with a girl, right? And you're like, you know what? I like this girl. I feel like paying for a dinner, so I'm gonna pay for a dinner. Good. You made that decision. That's fine. You can make that decision, but you're doing it from a confident standpoint. Like you can do that. It's easier to see the opposite of that, right? Because it's more difficult to say, from a confident standpoint, because it's not a big deal, because it doesn't matter, because the question doesn't go through your mind. You don't think, oh, should I do this or should I not do this? Maybe you have some set of rules. Like I had a set of rules when I was dating. My rules was, hey, if she's not a steady girlfriend, I ain't paid for a shit. I just not. I'm not getting taken advantage. I'm not risking getting taken advantage of. I'm doing well. I got money. But you got to put some kind of investment, right? That was my attitude, was you got to invest somewhat in me in the relationship. Like I'm the prize. Like I'm not gonna disrespect you, but at the same time, like I value myself to a certain degree, and so I'm not just gonna default and give you the higher value. I'm gonna choose to to hold to these principles, these standards. We'll have a good time, whatever. But we step it up to the next level. Then you've invested. I'm willing to invest some, right? And that was my rules. But you can define your own set of rules, right, around this, right? And you could be the same way. You could be on the other side and say, like I said. Well, that was what I said, was that you could have a girl pay for herself, and that's totally fine, because you're coming from that place. You're not coming from the weak, oh, I don't want to impose, I don't want to be that guy that pays for the girl as if she can't. I'm afraid to open the door for a girl because what if she's upset that I'm a chauvinist and I'm opening the door for her? That's being a fucking wuss. Just do it. You think that you want to do it? You think that's the right thing to do? You want to be chivalrous, and you think don't even think about it. So the same thing goes with this dinner thing. You got to get to the point where you just decide what you're going to do, and you make up your rules and you make up your plan, and then you do it, and you do it because that's what pleases you, because that's the decision you made, because you're a fucking man. And step into that role, step into those shoes, and don't be afraid to do that. Don't be a pleaser. That would be the final thing I would say on this topic, is however you do this, it doesn't matter. Just don't try and be a pleaser. Don't try and seek that external validation in order to get a good dog. You did good either way. It doesn't matter what I say, what anyone else says. You do what you want to do in that situation, and that's what you do. If you like this video, if you didn't like this video, if you just want to, come and hear and watch the dumpster fire. I love that term. Go ahead and click the subscribe button below. I would appreciate it. I would like to give you whatever else I can give you. If you have a question for me, you can always email me at john@simpleprogrammer.com. And I thank you, loyal supporters, subscribers. I will talk to you next time. Take care.